The one of one is missing.
I knew something was up.
Pop, that's almost twice as much going for the same price.
I just freaking love that Rated Rookie logo.
Doing more buying.
Which one of these 5 quarterbacks has the worst set of pass catchers to throw the football to?
Guess how much I sniped this for an auction?
Number 5, you dirty animal.
I'm telling you, these optic on-card autos are money.
Let's go. Part of the NoOffSeason.com network. His name is Andy. My name is Kendre. We are in the heat of the offseason. The dead time after the NFL draft is right now. And Andy, my question for you is, does it open up an opportunity to go buy some cards?
Well, it can in the right situation, but the problem that we run into, Carter, is right now you also have way fewer people submitting cards to these large consignment houses. So you have fewer football cards going to auction. So when you have a lesser supply and the same demand, or maybe even higher demand because people know it's the heart of the offseason, it becomes quite challenging.
So my question for you, and we're going to get into some second-year players to buy and sell or just avoid altogether here in just a second. Last year, Andy, when we went to the National, we spent quite a bit of time, and you in particular, honestly, speaking to some of these big consignment houses. You spoke to, DC Sports 87. I know you're not a big, consignment house guy, but have you seen more people do it? And what is that process like for a lot of people that don't even know what consignment is?
Oh, yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense. It takes all the legwork. I mean, you know how long it takes to take pictures of your cards, set up the listings, get the listings active. And then it's also advantageous to recycle the listings, like constantly refresh. And eBay rewards those who are consistent listing on a daily basis. And that's all these consignment houses do. And so a lot of people have sellers like DC Sports 87 and Quick Consign and all these like Hoodies Collectibles and stuff. They have them saved and they know them. And some of them are more reputable than others. And so they know that it's consistent and so it takes all that legwork. So from a selling standpoint, you basically just mail them your cards and tell them you want to sell them. And then they take a percentage of whatever you make, whatever the auction ends at. Right. They have different tiers. Like if it's, I don't know their exact threshold. You have to go to their website and look at it. But it's like, it's somewhere, I would say like $100, they take 5%, for example. I don't know if that's the exact rate, but to give you an example, that's kind of how their system works. And They have like a base listing fee, but that's very cheap. Like I know it's like pennies per card kind of thing. And then they take their cut off of the top of the auction. And it takes all that legwork out from selling. So if you've got a large collection and you want to start moving some cards and you don't want to set up an eBay store and you don't have the feedback and you don't want to work and grind your way to get that top seller status and everything, you can take advantage of these consignment houses.
Yeah, and what you are buying is time. That's all you're buying here. And I understand there'd be a lot of people say, well, eBay's already taken a big cut and my taxes and all of that. Yeah, but have you ever really listed a bunch of cards? It takes a long time. And these people have to pay the people under them to list all those cards. So give us your opinion down below on consignments, and we'll answer all questions about all players. But first, the main topic of today's video, Andy, is there a second-year player that you're just staying away from altogether?
Well, there's been one guy that a lot of people are talking about because I think the opportunity on the depth chart could be really interesting this year. And you got a new offensive coordinator, and this is right up your alley, Carter. So it's the top of the hour. I want to talk about this guy. It's Kendre Miller for the New Orleans Saints. Ooh. And, you look at the depth chart. So you guys bring in Clint Kubiak as offensive coordinator. I think this is interesting. You still have Jamal Williams on the depth chart, but Jamal at like the number 2 spot, but Jamal Williams is 29. And then I also look at the age of Alvin Kamara, and he's 29. So I look at the guy, it's like the next man up that needs to step up that I think can earn a bigger role is second-year player Kendre Miller. And the thing is, like, I've seen a lot of players bust out of TCU first and foremost.
Oh, yeah,
and
that's true.
I already saw this guy kind of struggle last year in his rookie season, and it seemed like he either struggled to earn the coach's confidence, or maybe it was a work ethic issue or something. Something wasn't adding up, and so I'm like, man, I have avoided Kendre Miller like the plague, but there are people buying. I saw one of one gold vinyl triple patch sell for $150, and it's like, okay, you know, that's some considerable money, but it is a one of one triple patch. In there, it's like, yeah, but that one of one could have gone for like 300. If you look at, you know, the top of the draft class, of course, you can't even consider Puka Nacua, but even look at a guy like, another guy I want to talk about is Marvin Mims, but if you just compare him to like Marvin Mims per se, that card's $250. So we do have Kendre Miller favorably priced right now for a second-year player. But Carter, what do you think about this guy? Is he going to do anything?
Yeah, I'm not as hot on Kendre. I've been drafting him a decent amount on Underdog because of the situation. But Andy, I just fade running backs that are on offenses that aren't that good. And until Derek Carr can prove to me that he's good, and last year he was fine, not necessarily bad, but he wasn't good. He was mid at best, to use a word that the younger generation loves. I thought what you said about TCU was very interesting, but because it did kind of just hit me after, you know, the great LaDainian Tomlinson and the great Andy Dalton, or the mostly good Andy Dalton, the beige water pistol. You've had QJ, you've had Jalen Reagor. So yeah, we'll see if this works out. But yeah, let's chat a little bit about Marvin Mims. This is another questionable offense going into next year. I'm like you, Andy. I'm fading him as well, even though he does have this big playability that everyone is looking for in fantasy and in football cards.
Yeah, he definitely did not dodge the draft. The thing he's got going for him is that, you know, he should have an expanded role this year with Jerry Jeudy having left for the Cleveland Browns. And Sean Payton did draft Marvin Mims. Technically, like they kind of reached on Marvin Mims last year. I believe they took him out of the second round, right? So it's like we know that Sean Payton likes him, but the question is now that this year they spend significant draft capital on Bo Nix, and then they get his guy, Troy Franklin, that he had this incredible connection with at Oregon. So I'm like, is Marvin Mims' role really going to be increased, or is he going to be like a number 3-4 kind of guy? Because if Tim Patrick's healthy and some of these other guys on their depth chart, I feel like Marvin Mims could just kind of get lost in the shuffle there in Denver. And with Bo Nix being a rookie, I feel like he's going to gravitate more towards the security blanket and maybe a guy like Cortland Sutton, you know, like possession style receiver, or his guy from college and Troy Franklin, or even like the tight ends, like, you know, looking at Greg Dulcich and stuff. You know, so I'm like really hesitant on saying Marvin Mims. And I got to tell you, Carter, looking at some of the recently sold on Mims with this whole, you know, slow delayed release of Panini products from last year. You know, the Mims like green scope, which has no color match to the Broncos, but it is out of 75. It's from Prism Auto. And that card right now is selling for $85. $85, and I buy it now yesterday. And I'm just like, good Lord, let's go back 1 year to 2022. Let's look at what a green scope Prism out of 75 is selling for a wide receiver 3. You know, I mean, we're talking a 15 like to $25 card in type range, you know, maybe $30. So, you know, I'm really I wanted to buy into Marvin Mims before the draft, but now I'm super skeptical.
A deep ball receiver with the lowest ADOT quarterback in the first round by far. it's not really a fit with Bo Nix. You know, one thing I'll say is Sean Payton hates being wrong, and you got to remember they traded up to go get him, but he seemed last year to be kind of manufactured. And look, I wanted to like Marvin Mims. I drafted him a decent amount last year in underdog, and he burned me. Now, I will say he did have some spike weeks last year in fantasy, and that's all we really need for a football card. We need that one big week to get Joe Schmo thinking that he is the next Garrett Wilson or Justin Jefferson. So I get that aspect of him. He's very boomer bust, like a Jameson Williams, but we'll see how it plays out. I want to ask you about JMO really quickly, though, Andy. But no, oh wow, you had it queued up. Perfect.
No, you were like reading my mind. We were connecting there, man, because I was actually pulling up JMO's Green Scope Prism rookie auto to compare it to the the Marvin Mims that we just talked about. And here's it, SGC 10. It's a reputable grading company. Well, that's non-auto, excuse me. So pardon that. But this one's going back to March 7th. We're in a different time now, but this one did close an auction for $102. So that's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive right here. But let's look at what June 2nd. Here's a recent transaction for a camo out of 25. It's going to be hard to find good sold data on the Green Scope. And obviously, I think Jameson Williams being on the Detroit Lions just should hit you totally different, because he actually has wide receiver 2 on the team upside this year compared to Mims. I think Mims is going to, filter down more to that wide receiver 3 on the depth chart, on this team range, whereas Jameson Williams got a real shot here, and especially the way he finished the year in the NFC Championship game. He's got a real shot to pick up where he left off. They got rid of Josh Reynolds, and they didn't spend any draft capital on a receiver. So you got to look at this as a big win. They retained Ben Johnson, their offensive coordinator. I mean, so this looks like a big win for the Lions and Jameson Williams. And so if I have to pay the same to get the same card, I'm going Jameson Williams.
I love I love Jamo at his old ADP, but Andy, he has shifted so far up underdog drafts. It's insane because of his athletic profile and because of the draft capital, because he's on the Lions. And look, our last memory of Jameson Williams was having a big NFC Championship game versus the 49ers, right? That was a very public game. So I'm still worried as hell about Jameson Williams as a pro prospect. I really am. And I got some GMO in my arsenal here. I don't know if he fits perfectly with Jared Goff. It's kind of the same thing with Bo Nix and Mims. But we'll see. I mean, there's just a lot of mouths to feed in that Detroit offense. But let's take a few questions. Let's start off here with Ruxy. Should I invest in Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison, or Tua and Waddle? Two very different situations for both of these players or sets of players.
Yeah. Now, this is interesting because it's a word choice here of invest, and some people, I have to always kind of re-clarify this or re-ask this question, because when people typically say invest, if you ask the right person, they're going to say that means long-term hold, like you buy it, you hold it for 3 to 5 years type range or whatever. Long-term, I don't know if what you consider long-term, but a lot of people consider long-term at least 1 to 3 to 5 years, versus I would look at this from a flipping aspect. I would rather have Tua and Waddle from a flipping aspect. From long term, that becomes even more complicated. And I would probably still say Tua or Waddle, just because the whole Marvin Harrison situation right now. Long term, he's going to have pro uniform rookie cards that then deflate the value of his current college uniform rookie cards. And Kyler Murray, long term, he should go up in value from where he's at now because he's so low. But we're talking about the stack here. We're talking about the stack of these guys. And the schedule, from a flipping perspective, the schedule is just brutal for the Cardinals to start the season, and it's very favorable for Miami. And they've known to be getting off to hot starts. So, I got to go with Tua and Waddle on this one.
Yeah, and for those that want the full details on the Marvin Harrison situation, we dedicated an entire episode last week to that whole thing. But shout out to Jalen Waddle, right? I think a lot of fantasy analysts are torn on Jalen Waddle. Are you drafting him right now at his ADP, Andy?
So current ADP for Waddle is like what, second, third round?
Yeah, in like the late 30s, mid 30s.
I don't have it. Yeah, I see 23, around the 23. So the end of the second round, beginning of the third. Yeah. I would draft him. I would try and put together like a Tyreek, Waddle, and Tua stack. That is definitely a stack I am very interested in. I don't have any of those yet. I do have what ends up happening is I've been drafting a lot of in the back end of the first round. And what ends up happening for me is I see such a cliff in running back tiers. I end up going running back to start off. I end up going like, Saquon Barkley and Jonathan Taylor type, at the end of the first, beginning of the second. And so then by the time the third comes around, I'm going with more of like a Terry McLaurin, and then, and so it just never works out to where I haven't gotten any Waddle exposure yet.
Let me ask you about one player, and it's a player that, everyone here is interested in. Is, we welcome in Smiley, Pick Six, James, David. We appreciate all of you. Bijan Robinson, out of all the first-round picks, Andy, he probably concerns me the most. Like, I understand that Arthur Smith's situation last year was bad. And I took Bijan in my absolute biggest home league last year, and he didn't smash, obviously, but he was okay. Something just makes me feel off about this. I don't know why. I should be wheels up with this draft capital and his athletic profile, and Kirk Cousins being a fantasy maven for all the skills position players that are around him. But as you know, Andy, I think Bijan is a great prospect. I just think Brees is better than him. I really do think so. And I just think there's so much more into Bijan Robinson because he was, the higher profile pick. He's from Texas. He's just a bigger star. But I'm concerned about Bijan. What say you from a football card perspective?
Yeah, I'd be concerned because his prices are inflated so much right now.
Right.
And I do feel like he is his finesse score. Like I kind of see what you're saying. Like Brees's power and agility is like way up here. It's like 99 out of 99, and Bijan's power and like speed is probably like a 93, but his finesse is a 99. Like his ability to make these crazy catches, and then also, I don't know, his vision to elude tackles is just absolutely insane. It's mind blowing. I think he kind of exceeds Brees in that category, but we've seen Bijan Robinson take some crazy hits. Like that hit that he took back at Texas, and he didn't get hurt when his head actually folded backwards and stuff, was absolutely if you guys haven't seen that, you got to go watch that highlight. So I think Bijan gets himself in these very weird kind of positions on the field where he could take a really ugly hit, and that could happen to anybody. But I do see, but just based on how inflated his prices are, I do get concerned that people are going to buy in thinking that he's a flip candidate when his prices are actually going to dip in September, October, just because the expectations are now so high, and it's only increasing because the latest, pressers are, they want to use me like CMC. They throw that word around. All of a sudden, Bijan's stock continues to go up. And with this limited supply still of 2023 rookie cards, like I'm looking at the data right here, Carter. Bijan Robinson had more buy it nows in the past 24 hours than CJ Stroud. I mean, he's like more than Will Levis. I mean, he's selling better than a lot of these quarterbacks in terms of volume. And I get it, CJ Stroud is because his prices have just gotten so high that the buying demand has cooled off because people just can't afford, his decent rookie cards as much. But I mean, he's right behind Anthony Richardson and the most sold buy it now, best offer accepted player in the past 24 hours. And he's been like that for for a while now.
One more thing. Okay, so I just went and rechecked the prices. I thought they would be a little bit higher than I initially thought. He does have a lot of cards out there, Andy, Leaf, all kinds of stuff. One kind of cardy thing, and it really does not affect prices as much, but it does affect me. His auto is inconsistent. Very, very inconsistent. It is not a great John Hancock on the cards. It's not like George Pickens level, but I do see a lot of streaky SIGs, a lot coming off the card. There's some college cards where he signs full name Bijan, and there are NFL cards where he does what you're looking at right now on the screen. If you're listening via audio, it's a little bit different. So I thought his prices would be a little bit up. Like you see, I thought right there that would be a $200-ish card, that Pink Prism rookie auto, but it's $145. So I guess it's not as bad as I initially thought. But man, I'm just not sold that he is an absolute bona fide stud, and I am open to just this blowing up in my face because everyone is telling me the opposite.
Yeah, some of these prices on these Bijan Robinson rookie cards aren't that bad, and that's probably part of the reason why he's selling so much on a daily basis, because the prices aren't too crazy. He's also got an insane amount of supply. Like, he's also right up there with, somewhere around 7,000 to 8,000 different rookie cards, each with their own print run kind of range, like with CJ Stroud, but he's also capable of, or he also signed a ton of cards for Panini. And as we know, like 20,000 cards, signing 20,000 cards is just scratching the surface for an undrafted quarterback that had some hype in college. So can you imagine the amount of cards that Bijan Robinson signed? It's probably close to 100,000, I would guess. So, something crazy. So, I think, I can see why his penmanship, and there is definitely inconsistency. I'm also seeing okay, these prices are high for Bijan, but they're definitely not the max ceiling. Like, they're not Puka Nacua high, but that's partly due to because he's got 4 times as much supply as Puka Nacua. And there's also, I think, just some question marks around the new coaching staff and the quarterback situation for the Falcons. I think them drafting Penix at 8 and the fact that Kirk Cousins, he looks to be like he's in the shorts out there, throwing passes. But, I think until we get into season, there's going to be a lot of reactive behavior around the Falcons, depending on what happens.
Yeah, like James said, with the Christian McCaffrey line, I thought that was very interesting. Ruxy, we appreciate the love. D-Town Relics says the second-year players to buy are Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam LaPorta. Andy.
Whew. Well, yeah, I would say Gibbs at this point, he's going to have higher resale value than Bijan Robinson because of the certainty around the team.
I think you said that when we were talking about both of them in college, that Gibbs was kind of your guy. And I remember watching Jahmyr Gibbs in high school. So, Andy, I just want to give you kudos for I think you gave Jahmyr Gibbs as a play of the week during his college days. But keep going. I just wanted to.
Well, I did. You know why? He went to Alabama. He graduated. He migrated from Alabama to the NFL. And anytime that happens, it's just like a clout bonus. It's like if the Patriots were a college team or the Cowboys were a college team, all of a sudden you just get like an instant fan base bonus. Like I know people that live here in Tampa that are Alabama fans. I don't even know if they ever lived in Alabama. It's just like they're Bama fans. It's like, like I think that team just has a lot bigger fan base and more notoriety around the country. And as a result, the players that come out of there, they just instantly get more hype, whether or not they actually produce that way in college or are actually warranted to have that kind of hype. They kind of get it. So from that perspective, I was like, yeah, okay, his prices were a lot cheaper than Bijan coming out. Lo and behold, he got the draft capital. He goes to the Lions. This is an NFC championship. This is a Super Bowl contender in 2024 with the depth of the NFC. So the Lions are hot team. And then you have LaPorta going out and having how many tight end won games, top 3 finishes last year in fantasy. So his usage is incredible. And the Lions is like everything that people wanted Hawkinson to be early on, Sam LaPorta was last year. And so people are looking at him this year. I've seen plenty of drafts where Sam LaPorta is going as the number 1 tight end off the board. And that's a big shift as Kelsey gets older. Mark Andrews banged up a lot, and he's getting older. And George Kittle banged up, getting older. And so it's like Sam LaPorta's the new tight end beast on the block and in the right spot, man. You're on the right team. No questions around Jared Goff, the offensive line, the coordinator, everything. There's no ambiguity. It's all people expect them to pick right back up where they left off.
I love how the J's and a lot of signatures look the same, because at first I was like, is that the one you have up right now? I was like, is that a Josh Allen auto? Because am I the only one that sees that right there? Because at first I was like, does that say J-A? And I was like, no, it's not a Josh Allen auto, obviously. But I've always I don't know why I've always just been like a big signature guy. Like the George Pickens things bothers me so bad. So bad. I just want to go to George Pickens and say, please, man, dude, you got super fans out there. Don't just give them a line. If you're getting paid $50K to sign all these things, I understand it's tough. And one thing I'll say is I do feel sympathetic to the athletes, because unless you've seen a professional athlete mass sign something, you don't realize like how much stuff they're actually signing. I sat and watched Patrick Queen do a mass signing, Andy, and I was like, how? Like, this is it took him an hour straight. It was at least 1,000 items. It's insane.
Forearm burning after that. So speaking of autographs, dude, check this out. You're gonna like this. So I showed this in a recent mail day, but it wasn't until like after I recorded the video and went back and read some of the comments, I'm like, wow, this is huge. So here's Xavier Worthy's true rookie card from Bowman Chrome University first, and he signed this back in his sophomore year. This is 2022 Bowman Beautiful. Chrome. It's technically 2021/22. All right. Okay. So that was his like first auto. Now look at this auto that I pulled in the same mail day from 2023 Leaf. This is the 2023 Leaf auto. I mean, that's like, dude, I gotta go. I got it. I mean, whoa, that's a huge. So is this his new NFL standard? Like, is this what we're gonna see on all the RPS first looks and all his Panini Pro cards?
Yeah,
I don't think we're getting anything like.
Oh God! There's no way that that's the same sig. You can't be serious right now. Oh my goodness. And that's why, like, Andy, I'm always a guy that likes to buy the earliest autos. One of my favorite cards in my collection is an Odell Beckham auto that he signed in high school. And he actually, just like Xavier Worthy, signed the full card. Now, his current signature is gorgeous. It's not as extensive as his old signature in high school. But he does actually give a good sig. But it's Scribble Nation now. It is Scribble Nation. And honestly, you know who I blame for this? Tom Brady. for setting the example at that event in Miami. Just scribble, scrabble for 3,600 a pop. Come on, Thomas freaking Brady. I'll never, ever, ever forget that. That's why Peyton Manning and Drew Brees are the GOATs. But anyway, Andy, I'll let you pick the next topic from a viewer because I always pick them before we get into hobby tip of the week.
Yeah, I see Frankie D. I think the Vikings are a super interesting team. Shout out to Jay Jets, who gets his record-breaking, highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. Definitely worth every penny there, right, Carter?
Yeah, for sure.
And it's not like his cards are going to go up a whole lot from that. I mean, even with as many rookie cards as he has, his Silver Prism rookie autos are now in that $350 to $400 range, which pretty wild, man. So, but interestingly enough, like with all this, I did a quarterback comparison last Friday of like Caleb, Jaden. Well, it's hard to bring Jaden in because he just doesn't have that Bowman Chrome. But even just like comparatively speaking, looking at Caleb, Drake May, and J.J. McCarthy and Bo Nix and Michael Penix, it seems like J.J. McCarthy's hype has totally cooled off. And now a lot of people have kind of flip-flopped, or not, I wouldn't say flip-flop, but they're kind of changing their opinion on who the best rookie quarterback is going to be this year. And not nearly as many people are on J.J. McCarthy as there were at draft time.
It's because there's no certainty of when JJ's going to play. What would you and it's like that for Drake May, but this is what I would say to people. Drafting an underdog, if you're deciding whether or not to draft Drake May, top 5 picks don't sit anymore. They just don't. You play, right? It's rare that happens at all. Jaden obviously is starting day one. Caleb is starting day one. I'm not going to say Drake May starts day one because Jacoby Brissett has proven to be, to me, the best backup quarterback in the NFL, and he's good. But I think May will start by week 3 or 4, and then I mean, Andy, it wouldn't shock me if Sam Darnold starts well. We've seen him with the hot start. We talked about that a few shows ago. Sam Darnold starting hot. It's kind of hard not to with the weapons that he's going to have around him. So, yeah, and TJ Hawkins is an interesting player.
I think that's what it is too, Carter. I think there's about a 60-70% chance that Sam Darnold actually starts the season. I mean, I look at what Kevin O'Connell did last year, bringing in Josh Dobbs. I mean, he just has – I think he kind of placed a priority on some experience and some understanding of NFL playbooks over like athleticism and maybe like how much clout they have from college kind of thing. And I guess Sam Darnold does have that clout. I mean, he was good in college. He's got the draft capital and everything. So I think there's a good chance that Sam Darnold does start this season for Minnesota, a team that has a very interesting opening schedule as well, Carter. We talk about how much hype and emphasis is placed on the opening schedule, and they open up at New York. I mean, you don't get a much better matchup than that. At New York Giants, they play at the Giants week 1 on Sunday, and then week 2 they host San Francisco. So, I mean, maybe by week 3 or week 4, we do see J.J. McCarthy, because after the Giants, they get San Francisco and then the Houston Texans in week 3. So we could see them go 1-2, and then all of a sudden, maybe the outcries for J.J. McCarthy are too much for them to hold back anymore, and they put him in.
Okay, so Andy, we've had some big people tune into the show before, but did you notice in the chat right now, Jim Harbaugh is in the chat. So put Jim H's. Jim Harbaugh, I know this. He's always been a closet Sam Darnold collector. So, Jim, welcome, man. Dude, you got Justin Herbert. You got freaking Lad McConkey. And it's good to see you collecting football cards. This will be my hobby tip of the week. My next one, I can wait till next week. It has something to do with the card shows and all of that. Don't grade cards that, let's just say you have a turnaround time of 3 months, whichever grading company you're sending it to. Let's just say it's to go 6 months. If those 3 extra months are absolutely killing you to have to wait that long for that player, then you probably shouldn't grade that player. And Jim H., in all seriousness, I sincerely doubt that you are a diehard Sam Darnold fan. Now, if you are a diehard Sam Darnold fan, get your Sam Darnold cards graded if you want to. But if you're looking to just flip them, this would be, Andy, probably the last player I would get my cards graded for. It's not worth the wait unless you know for sure you're getting them back before the season. I'm just not risking that with Sam Darnold. So I would say no. So I would definitely move those as soon as the season starts, or right before the season starts.
I'll look at it this way, Carter. If you have a rookie patch auto, easier to ding the corners, easier to get whitening around the edges.
Right.
In most cases, a rookie patch auto or a rare rookie auto or a rare patch card without the auto, I would not grade. I would put that in one touch and sell it raw. Your chances of getting a 10 back, very low. Plus, people are going to be chasing that card more so than they are the grade. So the grade is not big of an impact. Why waste your time and money when chances are you get a 9? Now, if it's like a more common card, like let's say a base prism or a prism silver or an optic hollow, I definitely would get it graded. I think that makes a lot of sense, because if you get a 10 on that card, that's going to make it probably about 5 times more valuable than what it's currently selling for. And if he does start the season, and let's say they do get off to a hot start, 1-0, Darnold looks really good week 1, we're definitely going to see a spike in Darnold's prices from where they are at now, because they're very low. There's a lot of people with that $100 to $200 budget on an impulse buy that will go after a PSA 10 optic hollow or prism silver kind of thing and buy that card impulsively in a buy now. You do have to kind of roll the dice on the return time. But if you grade with CGC, maybe you don't get a full $200 for your optic hollow CGC 10. Maybe you're getting 150, 160 instead. But as we've looked at the sold data, they're very close. And I'll tell you guys right now, you can invest just around $10 to grade with them on a bulk submission. Say you have 25 or more Sam Darnold cards, you can grade those with CGC on a bulk submission for $10 a card. Get those back within the next 2 to 3 weeks, list them, have them ready to go. And if you did get a few 9s, you're like, you only spent $10 on that card, to grade it. So it's really not, you're not really losing much in terms of opportunity cost. And the resale value data continues to grow for them. And I think it's a pretty smart play. Of course, you could, grade with PSA, just like I mentioned.
So, your hobby tip of the week, Andy?
My hobby tip of the week. So yeah, this is going to parlay into what I'm going through right now in my personal life. As you guys have seen, I have no cards on the wall back here because I am moving. And so right now I've got them in storage. There's a lot of my personal collection there in storage. And I went there the other day to get some out, and I'm just like, man, I forgot about some of these cards. It's really forced me to take a step back and reevaluate my personal collection. And there is definitely some cards that I'm like, I think I'm going to move on from this card. Yeah, it's kind of changed my perception. It's what it's done is it's encouraged me or inspired me to consolidate some of my personal collection for bigger cards. And then definitely I cherry picked a few of them out of there to grade with CGC. And I think the most important thing about grading as well is pre-grading, and is the card going to get a 10? Because ultimately I want to get 10s. Like, I'm more willing to grade a more common card if it's going to get a 10. So I want to pick cards out that are going to get 10s, and I also want to consolidate my personal collection into fewer, bigger cards that I probably will put on display at my new place. And I'm moving this week, Carter, so that's going to be very soon.
So keep that in mind if you are a normal Card Quest viewer, listener, however you consume our content. Andy will be moving, so he's not going to be, as responsive maybe to your messages and all that. But I will be around, and the best way you can contact me, you can hit me up on social media at Card of the Power, but you can also join our football card Discord, patreon.com/football cards. I am a paying member of the Discord because I believe in Andy's research. I pay the monthly fee, and it's not much, right? So sign up today. You can access to our Keep 'em app, Andy, and it has a new name, Slab Hawk. So make sure you check it out. Patreon.com/football cards. The link is down below, or you can go to nooffseason.com and join us via there. Andy, I was thinking about this as play of the week. Wheezy Baby asked, who is a wide receiver with the new home that you're buying into? I was trying to talk myself into Jerry Jeudy, but I thought his prices would have bottomed out a lot more than they have. And trust me, they are lower than other rookie wide receivers in his draft class, but they didn't get as low. I understand like you, I like to get things as cheap as possible for the flip. But is there a second year wide receiver, or just not a second year, but a wide receiver in a new home, Andy, that you find to be interesting?
Yeah, man, I'm definitely out on Jerry Jeudy, Mr. Average there for the Cleveland Browns. Plus that depth chart is just so crowded. And it's like Amari Cooper. I mean, he's still the alpha there, and I just feel like Jerry Judy's going to get lost in the shuffle with the Cedric Tillmans and the David Bells and the Elijah Moores and stuff. So I'm out on Jeudy. Yeah, especially I feel like that Alabama cloud for Jeudy is still carrying him along. I would look at I actually like Deontay Johnson for the Carolina Panthers. I like Deontay Johnson for the Carolina Panthers. He's a guy that's not gotten the hype over the course of his career that I think he's due. And 2019 is just personally my favorite year of rookie card. I absolutely freaking love the rookie ticket auto design from 2019, and it's different from all other years. It's beautiful. I love those cards from 2019. I'm a big fan. And I feel like Deontay Johnson's cheap. The Carolina Panthers expectations are just super low, and it's easy to exceed, and it's easy for his prices to go up if they come out. And I do think that he's going to be the wide receiver one there for a guy that wants to get the ball out quick, because he's a short king, right, Carter?
Yes. I'm with you on that. I saw Wheezy Baby ask earlier about Darnell Mooney. I don't think Darnell Mooney's good. I just don't.
What?
I don't. I'm just out. Like, I just think he's fine. I understand the quarterback situation for him is bad. And look, this is where it gets great. You bring up a player that Andy and I are opposite ends here. I will go as far as saying this. Rondale Moore outproduces Darnell Mooney next year. Yes or no?
Oh, man, that's tough. Because I think Rondale Moore in his role, I think Darnell Mooney has bigger singular game performances, but you're probably right. Rondale Moore over the course of the season probably puts up, 10 fantasy points a game. He's got he probably even gets a couple handoffs or something here and there, and little gadget plays. And Mooney has some nuclear games where Cousin is just, he's putting up 3-4 touchdowns,
I will tell you this, as far as plays of the week are concerned, before we give out, ours here. So sometimes I get these. Trey McBride has been one of my biggest. But Andy, do you know who the sexiest wide receiver in fantasy is? Do you want to know who it is? because you don't listen to as much fantasy stuff as I do. You don't play as much underdog as I do.
Yeah.
It's
And yeah, you play a lot. 'Cause I do play but like once a week. I know you're on that grind.
Yeah, it's to the point where I'm like, man, am I actually good at this, or did I just have my one big year last year? And it was big, but not big, not life-changing big. I'm trying to have that life-changing score. But it's a Dontavian Wicks. That's the guy that everyone is just gushing over right now. That's why you got to tune into the show, because you remember, what was it? It was like 6 months ago. We should do better of saving all these takes. I said Dontavian Wicks will be the wide receiver one in Green Bay's offense. Now all the experts are saying it, Andy. All of them are saying it.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Hayden Winks has said it. Hayden Winks knows way more about football than I do. I've heard J.J. Zacharyson mention this, even though he still thinks Jaden Reed's going to be the number one guy. And I think Jaden Reed's a fine player. I think Christian Watson with the new hamstring situation, sure. But Dontavian Wicks is my guy. I will say, I do think he looks really good. And it is signal that his coach out of nowhere says he reminds me of Devontae Adams. Is there some Louisiana bias mixed in there? Sure. But what I will tell you is my Louisiana bias about players exceeding expectation has been more right than wrong. And Wicks has always been that guy. He's from small Louisiana high school, went to Virginia, and it would not shock me, Andy. It would not shock me.
Well, so Wicks is a second-year player. Jaden Reed's a second-year player. I've been trying to pinpoint who the breakout wide receiver is going to be for Green Bay, because I think it is literally the best play this offseason with the hype that Jordan Love has, and with the data we've been able to show here on the Quest over the past 3 years that we've been doing the show around the values of wide receiver and how they spike from these early season performances. And it's like, this Friday night football game, I just can't get over it, against the Eagles in week 1. One of these Green Bay wide receivers is going to, their market is going to totally change. And it could be Wicks. I thought it was going to be Jaden Reed, like studying the.
Jaden Reed, okay.
Well, I was thinking, okay, from an athletic perspective, Christian Watson. We've seen him have these 3-4 touchdown games. We've seen him take the top off of defenses. He's incredible with the ball in his hands, making plays in space. He's got the best speed score out of all these guys, just pure athleticism. But you're right. I mean, he seems like he takes off too quick or something, doesn't stretch out good enough, can't get his hamstring right, to stay in the game long enough. But he's the guy, like the primary guy when he's in there on the outside. We also saw the ADOT go up considerably for Jordan Love towards the end of the season. Basically, they were playing more aggressive. They were taking more shots. Jordan Love was showing that he has the drop back skill set to make those kind of big boy passes. And so I like that fit with Christian Watson. Right now on paper, like, this is not expected to be a great secondary for the Eagles. So, but then, like, you look at the game log for Wicks, and he's a guy that's only got 1,200 rookie cards, different rookie cards, And so I'm like, all right, I'm looking at the game log for Wicks and how when his snap share, for example, like week 18 last year against Chicago, when he had a 75% snap share. That was also when Chicago's secondary was playing good, right? Their secondary was playing on fire. This guy had 7 targets, 2 red zone, puts up 6 receptions, 2 touchdowns on 61 yards. So I'm like, red zone threat right there. He had a top 5 fantasy finish that week. That was his best week all season. And so the sample size is just small. Like, I'd like to see what he can do. I don't know. I mean, it's tough, man. I've been going to Christian Watson and Jaden Reed just because we have more data on them. I also think just from what we saw last year, they profile ahead of Wicks on the depth chart. But You know, it's an interest. One of these guys from Green Bay is the guy you want.
I'm trying to think of like deep cut wide receivers because this is starting to bother me. That Wheezy Baby asked me this very simple question: who is a? Because I want to give you a wide receiver to buy like superty duper, dirt cheap. So I think I have come up with one, Andy, for my play of the week because it is about that time. I just got called a crackhead too.
It's not Quentin Johnson, is it?
No, it's like QJ. Also, just got called a crackhead because I rock a little bit back and forth. So sorry, Harold. You don't need to bring up my past, my former addiction. I'm kidding. But
I know it's not Jalen Hyatt, even though he put up a crazy one-handed catch in camp like 2 days ago or something, and people like I saw a spike. Like, look, I'm looking at the app right now. There was a spike on Jalen Hyatt's cards. I love how a little bit of OTA news, especially from a team like the Giants, will cause stuff like that.
All right, this has been one that
Look,
there you go.
Sorry, David Chris had already commented Jalen Hyatt.
I love it. Good photo too, David. Looking into the future, I like it. And I do agree with a lot of our viewers about the Green Bay room just potentially cannibalizing each other. And look, LaFleur loves rotation. I would be the one guy that I am avoiding, Andy, at price. And it scares me because Evan Silva is my favorite fantasy creator on the planet. And Evan Silva loves our guy for the Green Bay Packers, the running back from the Oakland Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders, Josh Jacobs. I'm fading Josh Jacobs in a major way because LaFleur just likes to rotate too many people in, and I think Marshawn Lloyd is for real. Andy, if that's a work call, take it. I'll take it. Go ahead. If you got to take it, go ahead.
Well, we got a couple minutes here left in the stream.
All right,
so
I'll
call him right back.
All right, let's quickly give play of the week. So,
so who's your second-year guy, sleeper guy?
Okay, so this isn't a second-year guy, but he is with a new team, and this is his final run. I've given this play before because his card still remains super cheap. I'm going to go Paris Campbell now with the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay, it's probably not going to work out, but if you're looking for the bottom of the barrel, you do have a few things going your way. Okay, obviously, Kellen Moore comes over. Kellen Moore's going to want to run a lot of 11 personnel. We know Devonta Smith has one of those receiver spots locked in. We know A.J. Brown's got that other one locked in. Who's the third wide receiver in that offense? Well, our guy Devontae Parker retired. And, yeah, they drafted two guys, and I. Smith, who I think is very interesting. And, obviously, Johnny Wilson I also think is very interesting. But Paris Campbell's experience, he's athletic. This is one of the better situations he's ever been in. And his autos are absolute dirt cheap, literally $3 plus, shipping. So you're looking at $6-7 out the door on one of the premier teams in the NFL. Sure, I'll make another dart throw and go buy me a Paris Campbell auto. But it's probably not going to work out. He'll probably get hurt again. But I was just trying to think of some wide receiver that got to a new team. All right, Andy, play of the week.
Yeah, 2019 product too for Paris Campbell. So he's roped me in more times than I can count. He's roped me in since I got into this hobby. Every offseason, damn it, Carter, I'm buying Paris Campbell. But there's literally no downside. So I might have to go pick up a couple more. I mean, at that price, how can you not, right? And I do think he probably has a couple of those games in him this year. Yeah, no, this is interesting. I'm like looking at some of the guys from last year, and some of them are interesting. Like this guy, he has super few rookie cards, but Andre Losivas in Cincinnati.
Okay,
he's been making some plays. Seems like he's got a very good work ethic. It seems like he spends a lot of extra time with Joe Burrow. He's getting a lot of wide receiver 3-4 work, and I know Jermaine Burton's there now and stuff. But he's an interesting guy that's got very few rookie cards. Obviously he's never gonna supplant T. Higgins or Jamar Chase and You got Jermaine Burton there now too. Plus, so I don't know. I think he's like a super deep cut. He would rely on injuries. Another guy that could have an impact though is Michael Wilson on the Arizona Cardinals. I like Wilson's profile. I also like his work ethic. I thought Michael Wilson last year was a rookie breakout candidate, but he never quite did enough early on to get that. And then it was, an uphill battle just for the Cardinals in general. But he finished out the season strong, and I get they add Marvin Harrison Jr. For the record, Carter, somebody commented last week, is Marvin Harrison Jr. going to even play? The answer is yes. He did sign his rookie contract. Like, he's going to play. But you guys go back and watch the whole ongoing saga around his Fanatics and NFLPA contract. But just looking at like some of the stats on Michael Wilson, I think there is promise here, and the guy's going to be on the field a lot this year. I think he's going to be on the field a lot, Carter. So I think there's definitely a situation where he pays off. Like, so we know that ADP right now, fantasy ADP, is directly correlated to rookie card value, rookie card hype. I mean, this guy is basically going at the very end of underdog fan. Like, this is a guy that should be treated as a wide receiver 2 on his team, and I just don't think that he's going as like a wide receiver 4. I think that he's too cheap, and he should be a little bit more. Like, he's even behind Greg Dortch on the depth chart here. And I get they added Zay Jones, but I think Michael Wilson is definitely being undervalued right now.
Okay, Michael Wilson. I love it. So Andy does have a work call. So if you guys have any extra questions, I'll be chatting in the Discord. But we are going to do something a little bit different today. If you guys want to support the NoOffSeason.com network, please, I worked a week on this Joe Burrow video. So if you're a Burrow fan, and if you're a Buffalo Bills fan, I know Jason Van Castle is watching. I'm going to post a link in the chat. And if you want to help me, go watch his video, because we are signing off here. We wish we could take a few more questions, but there's a link right there. I worked a week on it. It's very cinematic. I guarantee you. Andy watched it earlier today. He approved it earlier.
This video is a banger, guys. This video is awesome. Carter put a ton of work into it, and I had totally forgot about this whole series of events that happened that is actually pretty mind-blowing. And you really opened my eyes around some things that the NFL tried to do there. It's a great video, man. So yeah, please, everybody watch it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's the biggest game in NFL history that no one talks about, and it involves Joe Burrow and the Buffalo Bills. And we talk about one of those games, obviously the Damar Hamlin game, but it was actually another one that changed the course of NFL history. And if it wasn't for Joe Burrow, I understand I'm biased. I get it. His photo's in the backdrop. Okay, I get it. But he legitimately would have changed if he didn't do what he did. One of our long-standing traditions in the sport that we love would have been neutered, and I hate that. So check it out and watch it all the way through. It's good for the algorithm. Watch it all the way through. Comment below. I've never worked harder on any video, and you'll see, because I'm not the best video editor. But check it out, and I'm part of the NoOffSeason.com network, as is Andy. So there you go. Final thing. I am doing a card show June 29th in Shreveport. If you want the details on that, a few of you drove from Houston, actually, for the last show. So there you go. Andy, I'll let you get the final word, man.
I appreciate you guys for tuning in today. I'll be back next week. I don't right now. I am moving tomorrow, so I don't think there's going to be any more content for me this week, unless, something crazy happens. So, yeah, appreciate you guys for all your support and your patience while I move this week. But we will be back, baby. We will be back.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Peace.
Boom.